What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining. My name is Eric Velasquez, host of the Alamo City Agenda. We are a completely nonpartisan political podcast. So it is a live stream. You're welcome to join in and ask a question to the candidate as well. So busy day today. It is a Monday. It's a great Monday, right? I don't believe in any bad Mondays because it's a good Monday. So that's what I'm going to bring into fruition, and I'm going to speak that into existence. So it's a good Monday. We have our second interview today, and let me go ahead and bring him on in. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing good. Thank you.
Good, good. So Johnny Arredondo, right? You are running for Texas State Rep District 124. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And let's take a look at the map of District 124. I believe this is a little bit outdated, so pardon me. I don't took it from the website of the Secretary of State, and it's not updated. So, for the most part, 124 is pretty much right here along 1604. Um, and it's that dark purple one right there, 124, and it runs kind of inside the 410, close to what is that, I-10, into the west side. So I can't remember where does it end in that area. I know we were talking about it, 118 kind of took over some of it. Um,
The western border on that is 1604. The southern border, that's Highway 90.
mhm.
And the northern border, now, I don't know if it shows it there. We can't see it there, but it's actually Culebra Road. Now, they had a slight redistricting, and so it's Culebra Road, and it goes a little bit into Port SA, and it ends around the General McMullen area.
Okay, okay. So that is the district there. So you live in that district. That's this is for the race for that district. So a lot of things happening in Port San Antonio. Uh, how excited are you for what's happening in Port San Antonio, or not excited?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's always it's old San Antonio is what we call old San Antonio, and I was born and raised right there in the Las Palmas area, so my ties have always been there. I've only lived in two places my whole entire life as far as districts is concerned, and one was until I was 21 there in Las Palmas, and then now here still in the same district, but they've improved that Port San Antonio quite a bit. It used to be a military installation for many decades now, and so they've done some improvement. They're continuing to improve, but it still needs some help with the neighborhood, being that it is an older type neighborhood.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing that's like notice there's a lot of growth happening, a lot of new things happening. I used to actually work down there at Port San Antonio as well, and but the actual neighborhoods the same, the same as how they've been years and years and years. Why? What's going on? What do you think that's happening that you see that you're talking to residents? What's going on?
Well, a lot of it's got to do is what I mentioned earlier. It is an older established neighborhood, and people probably are too young to know this stuff, but the Edgewood School District, which is the large school district there in the Port San Antonio area, General McMullen, was part of the Robin Hood lawsuit that happened many decades ago, and that was because they weren't getting very much money for the property taxes, and so it's hasn't changed. The uh, the value of the homes haven't gone up a whole lot. The is predominantly a Mexican American neighborhood, and I think a lot of it really, the simple word that can be used is just neglect. I mean, the people just don't have the representation to have someone to stand up and fight for them and say, "Hey, this is what we need. We have problems over here with crime. We have problems over here with homelessness," and so you need somebody strong to stand up and voice those opinions, and you also need to unite the neighborhoods to join together and work together to get some of these things done.
Yeah, that was something a topic, and for anybody watching, if you do want to put a comment, please put a comment. If you want to jump into the conversation, ask a question, please feel free to do that. But that was one thing that I heard from one of these debates that, or it was like a town hall. The reason why a lot of these other neighborhoods, right, like the north side, are thriving, is because they have well organized neighborhood associations. If you don't have a well organized neighborhood association, a lot of things are going to get overlooked, and you're not going to be able to get a lot of contact with those elected officials. There's that aspect, but then there's also the aspect of the elected officials should be out and about, have their pulse on the city as well, right, on the neighborhood. So, what would you like to see done to be able to fix that? To be able to, get people outside of their shell, because we all know the South Side, West Side, even East Side, they're very much themselves. They want to take care of their own ways, right? And they don't want to rely on anybody, right? Which totally understandable. You don't really want to rely on the government for a lot of things, right? But for what for what it is worth, those property taxes that you're having to pay, you have to have a say in it. So, what would you like to see done to be able to get those people out, be able to get engaged more than what it is right now?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that hurts, and I think it's everybody, is not just so much District 124, is that you put an R or a D in front of somebody's name and you automatically divide the neighborhood. And so what happens is that when you have a Democrat there, you have the Republicans work against, or you're trying to get a Republican in there and you have the Democrats work against. And you know, the state house is local. You're not going to have Pelosi, Schumer, Ted Cruz. You're not going to have any of those come and be in our neighborhoods. So we have to work together to try and see what we can get done. You mentioned property taxes. Property taxes is absolutely outrageous. I mean, there is no relief in sight. People shouldn't be paying thousands and thousands of dollars just to live in their house. It puts a burden on people. And then also with the inflation, it just hurts people so much. And so I think we have neighborhoods that we just fight against each other and we start viewing the people's representation again, as I said, either a Republican or Democrat, and we can't get any headway. And so I remember that I did make contact with one of the neighborhood presidents last month, and one of the first things they said, "Oh, well, you're a Republican," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I just wanna help the neighborhood. I live in the same neighborhood, is what I do." And as I mentioned, I mean, I think for the most part, every single person can agree on certain things universally. Republican and Democrats, independents, whoever you may be, you can be green, brown, whatever. Um, we care for our family. We care for the safety of our children. We care for our neighborhoods. We care for our kids going to school and being safe. We care about all that. Yet we focus on things that are national issues. And as long as we keep doing that, we're not going to make much progress in our neighborhood to try to improve our neighborhood.
Right. Yeah. That was, man. It pains me when I see so much political divisiveness. Right. There's so much. It's ridiculous, and you start wondering, like, is it ever going to change? You know what I mean? Like, where is the light at the end of the tunnel? When are we going to start seeing people come together? We can't have to where it takes like a national tragedy to get ourselves unified, right? Um, it needs to happen just organically, but it does seem political wise, everybody's just fighting each other. Everybody's throwing pointing fingers at each other. Everybody's, it's just got to stop. There's got to be some type of unity, right? But it all starts with one, the candidates, and two, the parties. What 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 do you envision? Like, how do you feel that you can work with Democrats, with Libertarian, Green Party, Independents. Um, how do you feel like you can work in that capacity? Like, what do you think?
I,
What's your game plan? I guess.
well, I think the one thing that we can, what I just mentioned here a little bit, is figure out what we can agree on, which is the safety of our children, the safety of our homes. We can agree on that. So you approach, just say, for the sake of argument, you approach as a Republican, you approach a Democrat, you approach a Libertarian, you say, okay, look, um, are you concerned about safety? Well, the answer is yes. Okay, so now you've got three people or three groups that agree on something. Uh, you agree that we need to get the police more involved as a community partner, not so much just showing up when there's a tragedy. We need to get to the point where these officers feel, I don't feel like they're part of the community, and not so much just because they're a law enforcement, but they need to show up at places where you know their first name, they know your first name, they wave at you, they feel comfortable, and make them part of that community, and you become a member of that police force where you can call them and feel comfortable doing it. Now, I think everybody can agree with that. I had a neighbor, my neighbor from across the street just last month took his 10-year-old daughter to go see a movie. Then after the movie, he went ahead and dropped her off at his mom's, and with a couple, they went to go eat dinner. And he told me, and I walked over and I saw him. He said 11 guys jumped them. They just walked up to them and just started beating on them just to rob them. And he says the only good thing about that, he says the first guy that got to me, he says I was able to land 3 or 4 punches. He said, but after that, I just got mugged. And so I can't even imagine if his daughter had been with him. And so I think you mentioned the national tragedy uh, uh, of the people that happened there in Uvalde who can never get that back. That's what we need to focus on is the safety, getting policemen in our neighborhood, getting our neighborhood engaged. We need to engage in a property tax. I mean, it's crazy. We need to get together and figure out what the heck is going on with this homelessness that is everywhere. And it is a problem because some of these people, your kids, my kids, are getting ready and already started going back to school. Some of them have got to walk through these neighborhoods. And so, can we work together on that? Yeah, I think we can work together on that. And that's where we need to start focusing is on keeping our families safe and then just working to improve our neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's the problem though is that nobody's working together, and it's getting worse and worse as the years go by, and it's getting more polarized, right? So nobody
Yep.
wants to work with each other. Everybody's as soon as and as soon as we saw with the 118 rep, um, Leo Pacheco, he left early, and there was a lot of issues because he was voting across party lines or he was bringing legislation. And so when you start thinking, and this goes not just Democrat but Republican as well, like if you're voting for not other parties bill, and I think who was it that voted to as far as with the gun legislation, I forget who it was. It was local. Republic. Oh, was it Steve Allison, I believe. And the Republican Party was like they were upset. They wanted them to be removed, you know. And so if you cross those party lines, then you're already looking to get primaried, right? Which is an
Yep.
issue. So
It is.
so we can talk about coming together, but nobody's coming together. Nobody. I mean, there are some. I'll take that back. There are some, but that are trying. But those people that are in there and solidly in there, they're not budging. So what's the recommendation for that?
Well,
Where's the
and
hope
you're
for the
100%
people?
correct. If you do one thing that goes against the local party, you're 100% correct. Let me go ahead and uh, do a primary against this guy or this gal. You're 100% correct. And, but you know what? that's a party, most of those people don't live in your district. And that's, I think that's the thing that people forget, is they don't live in your district. And so you go to your district, and I think the biggest thing for someone that's running for office is get to meet the people personally. And I think the people, once they get to meet you, they either like you or they don't like you. I mean, that's just the
Yeah.
bottom line, you know? And
Yes.
so, but I think if you get to meet the candidate, get to see what they stand for, I think you get to like them. And and you get to realize that, hey, you know what? This guy, this gal, they have the same ideas I have.
Right.
And you eliminate, I shouldn't say eliminate, but there's a lot of infighting in both parties.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
for anyone that wants to deny that, you're just denying it, because there is. And you vote for one thing that someone doesn't agree with, all of a sudden you're a rhino, or you're not part of the party, and it's like, oh my goodness, here we go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I tell people, I give the example. I tell my kids and my grandkids, that's ridiculous. That's just like saying that we go to a restaurant, I order tacos, and I put sauce in mine, and you don't put any in yours, and now I hate you because you don't have sauce in your tacos. I mean, it's the same concept.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not all gonna agree with every single little thing, but
Right.
does a candidate, do they do they have the majority of the views and ideas that you have? And I don't have a radical view, I don't have an agenda, I don't have all this stuff. My agenda is just, how can I help the community? How can I get the police more involved? How can I help to keep our kids safe? How can I work to try and improve the homeless problem? What can I do to property taxes? It's just, keep it simple with me. I'm not looking to climb the ladder and be the president of Ukraine one day. I'm not looking to do all that stuff.
Well,
I
you
just
can
want to
now
help
with
my community here.
representative pay.
Yeah,
Representative,
exactly. You know,
but that was the thing too, is you know, then how do you like what's an example of how you fix with the police problem, right? There's a lot of issues with um police accountability, um as with a lot of jobs, but especially one where people can be impacted for life, uh without sounding like you are looking to defund the police. you know, it's a fine line, right? But you also want to know that, hey, these people are going to be held accountable. But as soon as somebody who is pro cop, pro police, then it turns into their backyard to where they get arrested for whatever reason. Then it's like, oh well, this and this. So what is something that you would like to do uh, in regards to the police? I mean, as far as with either accountability or funding or what?
well, I have you hate when people say stuff like that, but I have actually a slight unique um, take on that. I was actually on the Citizens Internal Affair Board for the police department about 4 years ago. And what that was is, you had 8 civilians and you had 8 police officers who review cases of police complaints, misconduct. You go over there, you view their body cam, you view the complaints, and then what you do is, the 8 citizens, we sit in a room with the police officers, and what we do is that we talk about what happened, and then we take a vote, and they give you several choices: guilty, not guilty. If you find them guilty, then they give you a choice of their punishment. Is it just a written punishment? Do we give them a 30-day? Do we give? And they go through a whole bunch of scenarios,
Mhm.
and I can tell you, 90% of the time, the civilians and the police officers agreed whether they were guilty or not guilty. I mean, we agreed there was accountability. Now, the one thing that stands out is that when we found the police officer guilty, and in all this is the paper, you get to write on a little piece of paper so people don't actually see your vote. You turn it in, they count the vote. So it's kind of anonymous to a large extent. But we've been to the punishment phase on an officer that we found guilty. The police officers, almost 9 out of 10 times, wanted a harsher payment for the harsher punishment for the officer than the civilians did. They they were not happy that the officer was found guilty. They were not happy because they knew that they wanted to get that bad apple or whatever out of the system. So I saw it as a civilian that the police were holding their own officers accountable. I saw it firsthand. And so it doesn't concern me when people say, oh, the officers are not holding each other accountable. Yeah, they do hold each other accountable, is what they do. And so, and what I will say is that unlike my unlike my opponent, who is a defunct police opponent, who has come out in newspapers here, the Reporter and the Current, as saying that she wants to reform the police and she wants to hold the police accountable. Um, I don't want that. We need police officers in our neighborhood. They are our first line of defense in the neighborhood. And as long as they're continuing to be held accountable, I'm okay with giving them more money to help in our neighborhoods and to be uh, abreast of all the activity, criminal activities that are going on in our neighborhood.
And you know, the police department is one of the highest paid, you know, department in the whole general fund. Um, so the money's there, uh, but you know, a lot of people say that that money could be spent elsewhere, so that way there would not be as much crime. Um, you know, kind of like city lights, right? Lighting the neighborhood. There's a lot of dark spots in the area. You know, a lot of people say that the lighting affects the crime as well, which yes, it does. So I mean, there's that aspect. There's a lot of different aspects, right? There's totally a lot of different aspects. I do want to say though is because I have spoken to your opponent a few times, and um, from what she said, she doesn't say that she wants to defund the police. She wants like different changes. So just want to point that out because she has stated that. So I don't know as far as like what specifically you're referring to. I know she's been around some of those organizations, but um, I just want to notate that because I have spoken to her about that specific issue. Um, but there are a lot of issues that may be, you know, concerning between both of those parties, right? I mean, there's definitely something that's missing. Um, you know, you look at, do we need a lot more police to be able to crack down on a lot of situations? I mean, maybe they're not being put in the right positions or in the right fields. You know what I mean? Rather than dealing with some simple things. I mean, maybe their efforts are not being focused on other things that are more important. You know, I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot of several factors. You know, um, but I think that there needs to be something that's mixed in between, that there's some type of common ground that we can maybe see eye to eye with. And that was the issue too, is that, you know, both of those parties, well, trying to get both of those parties together in the same room to maybe come up with some type of a way to compromise it, it's really difficult. And I don't know if it's because if it's a heated conversation, I'm sure it is. But there needs to be some type of talk between that, you know. But either way, I mean, I know that's not really a state representative's job as far as that, but you know, I think it really does play a focus into to the community. You know, like you were saying, but there's a lot of organizations, a lot of establishments or buildings that are not being utilized by the city, that could be utilized for the community. That can, you know, people have a place to go hang out. You know, especially on the west side. Do you see that, or do you hear any of those complaints from the public?
No, the biggest things that when we're block walking and we're going to these meetings is their concern is the crime and the property taxes. Those are their biggest concerns. It's obviously uh, a reason to be very concerned about it, especially again, speaking of what I said earlier about these property taxes. I mean, they're just
That
absolutely
is a crime.
crazy. I mean,
That is a
especially
crime.
when you have people on fixed income and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and then your property. I mean, there are some people paying six, seven, eight, nine, $10,000 for their property tax. That's crazy, is what it is. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so there needs to be. I know that there is a freeze when you're 65. I know that if you're 100% disabled vet, you don't pay for taxes and stuff like that. But there needs to be something also is that once you live in the same home for 15 or 20 years or whatever, you need to get some type of discount for just that. Not so much just a homestead, but you shouldn't be you shouldn't be paying to rent your house for the rest of your life. You shouldn't be
Yeah.
doing that.
Well,
And
and
that is
competing with these other homes that are being built around you that are raising the property taxes. That's a big issue, and you know there's obviously a multitude of different issues stemming from that. There's people that might not be making enough money. There's also credit scores. There's also lack of funds, lack of jobs, lack of education, go so on and so forth. So it's just everything just domino effect, right? So, but the thing too is that people also need to know that you can fight those property taxes and you can fight them effectively yourself. Um, but a lot of people don't know that information, and I think it's crucial for people to be able to relay that information constantly on a yearly basis to be able to say, look, you can fight your property taxes, so you don't get priced necessarily out of your home. But yeah, there should be a freeze. Like, hey, after this, that's it. Like, you're only gonna be paying that much. But even then, I still don't think you should be paying that much anyway to begin with, because we're constantly adding new homeowners, new homes. So it's there needs to be some sort of fix on that, but nobody's doing it. And that is a common thing that, like you said, common thing that I encountered too is property taxes. That was a
it's
big
crazy. I mean, I mean, it keeps going up, and then you got to work harder, and then you're raising kids, and you're sending them to school or even college in some cases, and it just keeps going up and up and up. Every cost keeps going up. And the thing about it is that one of the things that I know that I will work on if elected representative is I do have a very good friend of mine who is a public certified accountant, and we've already discussed the idea of every year putting on a free clinic to help people uh, fight the property tax evaluation and showing them ways how to have them win. I mean, ultimately, it's going to be the city that you're going to fight against. And, as any government agency, they're probably, it's just like the poker house in Vegas. The house is probably going to win most of the time. But we're going to show people how to fight their property taxes, the things, the tools that they can use. So I've already spoken to my friend about this, a very good friend, as I said, and we are going to put that every year. We're going to find a place and just have the people go for free who want to go and learn on how to do that.
yeah, and that was, you know, when I did mine, the Bear County Appraisal District, they were like, "This was the most engagement we've ever had." And I'm like, just doing an online thing was just, it was crazy, but there was a lot of communicate engagement, and people appreciate it. And I think everybody could do that. Everybody can do these things. You know, you don't need to be an elected official to do that. You could do that right now. A lot of people can do these things. You can fight the property taxes. We can all help these people to be able to understand. Look, it's important, regardless if we just bought your house right now or whatever it is. So, um, but yeah. So, what is one thing that you would like to accomplish once elected into office if you do that?
Well, the property taxes are high on the list.
Okay.
That is up there. The other thing is I just want to I do want to get the police officers more engaged in our community as far as I said, knowing people by their names, waving at them, get to feel comfortable with them. I think that that's very, very important. Uh, as I said earlier, the police officers are our first line of defense. And as we can see from the examples up from DC and up in Minnesota, and even in Portland and Seattle, when the police departments are depleted and they do become very undermanned, crime goes up. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Crime goes up. And so I would like to work on the property taxes, and I would like to really get the community and the police officers involved with fighting crime, letting your neighbors know that we're watching over you, and let people know that we're not just going to allow you to take over our neighborhoods and terrorize our neighborhoods as what they're doing right now. I mean, you've got guys that are going and breaking into cars, breaking into places that they don't have any fear. Crime is up in my neighborhood. Well, down the road a little bit, up on Penn Road, the crime rate is up 190%. It's not going to go down anytime soon. And so we got a rising crime rate, and that is really important. I tell my wife whenever she goes to the store, make sure you look around when you get off. Be careful. And it's a shame that you have to do that. And so that is high on my priority list is the safety of the neighborhood, your family, my family, and the taxes that are just crippling the income that we have.
Yeah, for sure. I know I definitely carry when I go out with the family. I'm like, you just don't know. Like, and that's sad. It's you know, I, I was in Chicago last year, and you know, I felt like I was like, well, I can't take my pistol with me. uh, and I was worried that I should have, because we were walking downtown and there was some gunfire. It was like automatic fire. I'm like, crap. I reached for my hip. I'm like, oh, I got it. And you're like, you get nervous because it's like, especially in Chicago. Chicago is really really bad. Like, it's bad. Broad daylight. It's just ridiculous. But they interviewed some people and they're like, there's lack of opportunity for these kids. Lack of opportunity. And I think that's where we kind of circle back with, as far as with lack of opportunity. You know, and that's where some people are saying, well, is the money being spent in a way where we're not benefiting the youth? You know, um, are we, the education wise, right? Education is not being helpful. Opportunities for work, or for them to make a honest buck. I mean, it's easier to turn to other to other things to make money than it is to actually get a real job sometimes. And it's unfortunate, but we're not teaching the kids any better. We're stuck in the cycle, right? Of, well, that's what we're doing. That's what we're gonna do. And growing up without a father figure doesn't help sometimes. So, you know, um, so yeah, I mean, there's all those issues, but I really wish we can get that cemented down with the whole police and the community thing, because it sucks, because a lot of that money that we're paying into is going to the police department, and we're seeing a lot of issues with the police. Sometimes, and we're just wondering, like, what's the buy-in, like, what's the incentive for paying all these taxes? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Especially with the
and
roads, we're not having good roads either.
oh, no, no kidding, man. And then again, and you speak about my district there, man. We've got so many potholes. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, some of our potholes are so big that I'm scared if you fall into them, you're gonna wind up coming out in China. They're so big. And it's crazy. But you do make a good point on. I know people say, yeah, and that's old-fashioned thinking or whatever, but having a stable family, having a mom and a dad, and some kids don't have that. luxury, and it is a luxury nowadays. It seems like I my grandparents raised me, and they were together for the whole time that I was with them, and then my children have had the same parents, and I've got three out of my first I'm sorry, two out of my first three grandkids are attending college, and the third one wants to go to college. And we didn't do anything out of the ordinary. All we did was just make sure that we taught our children the right thing. We taught our children to say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Uh, we taught our children not to say what, to say Monday, excuse me, or whatever. And people might look down or laugh at that, but it starts at home. It starts at home. You don't have to have a perfect life to have a good life. And so it starts at home with the parents. And then what you do is just you give your children the opportunity. We live in America where everyone should have the opportunity. Everybody is not guaranteed the same results, but we should guarantee everybody the opportunity. And the thing about it is that if you come from a low income family, the opportunity to go to college is there. You have the Pell Grants, you can get scholarships. And so it's a question of doing the legwork. Um, it's the same cycle because maybe as a parent, we need to just work a little bit more with, hey, son, daughter, I need for you to go to college. I need for you to do that. And you need to put in, I know with my grandkids, we put it in their minds, the parents put them in their minds, college, college, college. And this was since elementary. We would tell them, you're going to go to college, you're going to go to college. And so we need to do that. And then we need to provide. Uh, the charter schools is the fastest growing school system in Texas. I mean, they're all over the place. And it's a good thing, but we also need to see what we can do about helping the public school. What can I do to help you? And I was speaking to a principal the other day, which is a friend of the family, and I said, I think one of the things is look and see what the charter school is doing since they're doing so well, and why not mimic some of the things they're doing? Because if it's a success and they are improving, then maybe it's something that the public school needs to look at. And, we talk about two political parties going at it. I know that that's probably the same idea between charter school and public school. And
Right, but
so,
but you look at the, where is the curriculum coming from the Texas government, from the from the TEA, so I mean, a lot of times, it's that's a problem though, is that they have to follow some curriculum. They have to do the I don't even know what the test is anymore for the schools, but they have to do these things. They have to meet the criteria. If not, then they're going to get a low grade, and then they're not going to be funded. There's just a lot of things that are their hands are tied. So it's not even a fight between the public schools and the charter schools anymore. It's between the public schools and the TEA. So there's that issue. But then a lot of times there's a lot of people. We just talked about this last interview. Is there's some people that don't shouldn't even be in college because that's just not what they're meant to do. Like me, I wasn't meant to go to college, but they will still earn money. They will
right.
still be able to make a thing for themselves, even if they didn't go to college. But you have that aspect too, right? So, and then also, even if you do go to like a charter school, let's take for the idea school, right? For example, the idea school is great. They have 100% college, what is it, 100% college acceptance.
Right.
But
Yeah, they do. They have it on the
but
walls.
if if you decide not to go to college, they will withhold your diploma. So there's that aspect, and then you're stuck, right? And if you're like, hey, I don't want to take this education that I don't even know what I want to do because my parents have been saying you need to go to college. I don't know what I want to do, then you're wasting that college education for something that you don't even know what you want to do at that time. Which we look at also a lot of the people that have graduated with these degrees, they're not even doing the job that they have a degree for.
I
So
agree. I agree.
there there's a lot of issues.
Now, Eric, what I would ask you is that do we, because you said something that's very interesting to me is that do you know it to be a 100% fact that if you don't go to college, that the charter school will withhold your diploma?
The
I mean, is
idea
that a
school,
fact?
the idea school, yes, because I had a parent reach out to me during my campaign in 2020 because she didn't had no idea what to do. She was completely um she was frustrated. She was even scared because they were not going to let her son graduate, get his diploma because he didn't want to accept the uh the college acceptance that he had received. And he stated that he didn't want to um he didn't want to take that scholarship from somebody who really needed it because he didn't know what he wanted to do at that time. So at the end of the day, he finally accepted to just go to some community college, and they were going to go ahead and give him this diploma. But that's the thing though, is that if you have these limitations, and I'm pretty sure it's probably in the contract or whatever they have set up whenever they go to this school, that they have this criteria. But I think that's an issue, right? We're pushing these colleges, and some of these kids don't know what they want to do. So, but yeah, that's something that did come to me during my campaign run, and I found it quite interesting when I found out about it. Um, so
I do find that, oh man, I tell you what, I find it very hard to believe. Like I had heard from one of the public school teachers that they were saying, actually, it wasn't a teacher, it was the same principal that I mentioned earlier, that he was saying that the charter schools only accept certain students. Um, but I said, that's not true. I mean, charter schools will accept anybody as long as they have room
right.
to
Some
accept
of them
those
have the
students.
lottery, like some of them have those
R-
lotteries that you have to
Right,
do.
exactly. No, you're exactly right. Um, and you know what? And I'm looking down here because I am actually um, I'm actually texting a coach from a charter school and asking him if that is true.
Well,
Uh,
it was an idea school, so it was
okay,
not
yeah.
just the
Well,
regular.
the charter schools include Idea, Jubilee, and golly, I forgot what it is. But and he actually works at one of the Idea schools, and so
Yeah, I mean
he just asked me what's
yeah, I mean
and
that's something that came to me, and I was like, "Are you sure about that?" And so I had called the school and I had asked, they wouldn't give me information regarding that specific student, but I did, I was like, "Hey, look, this is what the problem is." Um, so I gave the parent the contact information and just said, "Look, just try to talk to him, see what you guys can figure out." And she did say that her son ended up taking a scholarship from a community college, and that was sufficient to get his diploma. So again, I don't know what the ins and outs for it is, but that is something that came up, and I was kind of really taken back by that. But yeah, I mean, if you find something else different, that's I just think that it's unfortunate that people will have to just settle, for something, if that's the case. But even then, there's a lot of people that settle for college education even though they don't know what they want to do. So
I agree. I agree. And you know what? And you're 100%. College isn't meant for everybody. It isn't. In our family, we just, we just, I told my kids, two of my kids have got college degrees. I got one, but I got one late in life after my kids graduated. I didn't get my degree until I was in my 40s. And, but it's just another opportunity that we try to give them. Uh, and you're right. It doesn't indicate success just because you have a degree. And I think all it is just trying to give opportunities to children, whether it's a degree, whether it's a skill. I know that I had saw the founder of Home Depot, who says that he is a big proponent of kids learning a trade because the trade will stay with them for the rest of their lives. And
Right.
I agree with that. I agree with anything that will help a child, a young man, a young woman have a solid future financially into their lives, because that's really important, you know. And if it's got a college degree, that with the right degree that'll help you get there. If it's a trade, electrician, a plumber, whatever it may be, I'm all for it. But people need help. People
Yeah.
need help, and we need to stop fighting against one another, and we need to say, what can I do to help my community? What can I do to make it easier for them? And that is the thing is, again, I'm not about the politics. I'm not, as I said earlier, I'm not going to run to be the president of Ukraine later on. The only thing I want to know is, what can I do right now to help my community right now? And those are the things that I believe in. I believe in getting the police more involved in our neighborhoods. I believe in the safety of our children, of me, you, your family, and other people. And can we just get people to agree on the same things, and let's work together? I mean, it's like you get a Democrat, you get a Republican, you get a Libertarian, you get someone that don't even vote, and you ask them, "You like the Dallas Cowboys?" "Oh, hell yeah, I like the Dallas Cowboys." Well,
Yeah.
now we all agree, you know, we're all on the same team, right? We're all on the same
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
But we can fight about every. But then we fight about, oh, don't put barbecue sauce on your brisket. Oh, and then now you get all mad, and it's like, come on,
Yeah.
how can we work together? Let's stop fighting. Let's work together. And you know, and I'm telling people, give me the opportunity. Let me tell you, I'll work for you. I'm not about myself. I don't have a personal agenda. It ain't about me. It's about,
Yeah.
what can I do to help the neighborhood. And
Yeah.
so give me that opportunity, and I'll show you that I'm here to work for you. And you'll see me in the district. You'll see me going into the business. You'll see me talking to people. Hey, if somebody wants to have 8 people over for some tacos and coffee, call me over. I'll go in there and I'll talk to you guys, you know. And so it's
Yeah.
just, give me the opportunity to do it.
Right. You know, and that's something that I think it's important to be able to be open uh, to conversation. Um, so, with that though, what are your favorite restaurants in your district that you like?
Well, I tell you, my go-to restaurant on a regular basis is Taqueria Aranda's. I mean, it's just like right there, Military Drive. Oh my goodness, the amount of food that they give you. Let me tell you, they give you so much food. My wife and I, we split a plate every single time we go in there. And you know what? That makes it light on my pocketbook, is what it does. You know, really, really light. And I mean, that's just my go-to restaurant. I love going in there, sitting in there. I got a buddy of mine that comes in from Vegas about 3 times a year. We go there all the time, you know, and he loves those chicken enchiladas, you know. And so I don't eat a whole lot, but I like that. I like Whataburger, you know. They built the new QTs here on Military and 90 right here, and a couple of years ago, and it's really helped the neighborhood quite a bit. I love that QTs. But you know, the problem is that we have a very, very big homeless population in this area, and it's just, you know, driving the businesses down, and it makes it hard for us to go any place. And I used to love to go to that Taco Bell there on Military and 90, but I mean, with the homelessness, it just makes it really, really tough. And so I can imagine that it makes it tough for the businesses. So again, what can I do to help you get better with customers, and to make your business thrive a little bit? What can I do as a representative to help you? And so, like I said, they haven't gone to Arandas yet, and I hope they don't, because I love that place.
Now everybody's gonna be going
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
um, uh, one more question. What? How do you feel about campaign contributions, and um, should there be some type of limit on it, or um, you know, yeah. So, how do you feel about those?
There should be, it makes it tough, as you know personally yourself. It's very hard for just, I would say, a novice, a beginner, a first timer, second timer. It's hard for people to ask for money. It's really tough. And it seems like the people that have done it for a little bit, it makes it easy for them that they'll go to a an incumbent, and all of a sudden they get all this money flow into their campaign, and then at that point you're indebted to those people to a large extent. I mean, hey Johnny, I gave you $5,000, and I need this. I mean, you're in a bind is what you do. So you limit those contributions, and what you do is that it's up to the individual to be strong and just say, hey, look, thanks for the contribution, but know that I'm going to do what I think the right thing is to do. And if they still contribute, great. And if not, hey, you just go to the next one. But there should be some type of limit. This open door where you can contribute as much as you want. I just think that that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's difficult because they've argued that it's a freedom of speech. I'm just like, but this whole system has been really effective at not effective as not having as many people, a minority or people that are you know middle or lower class, um actually go in and run a race, or even throw their hat into the ring. It costs $750 for a House of Representative.
Yep.
Like, what person working a 9 to 5 job that's just maybe 30-40 thousand a year? Like, how are you going to come up with that money?
Yep.
I mean, yeah, you could fundraise, but like, why should the people, the citizens and your family and friends have to come up with that just to throw your hat in there?
Yep.
You
You're
know,
absolutely right.
it's so much money that could be going towards helping the homeless population, helping people get resources, helping all these things, but a lot of people don't use those campaign funds to do that. Which you can, according to the TEC. You can do some of those things and use some of that money to give back to the community, but you know a lot of people don't. It's okay. Well, I'm gonna buy advertisement and this and because that's how you run a campaign race. And if you don't, then you don't get seen, and then you it's just you know it sucks.
Yep.
you know it,
100%.
it's
And,
just yeah.
and that 750 is just the beginning. That
Yeah.
doesn't include push cards. That doesn't
No.
include signs. That doesn't include, well, having a lunch with someone to get their advice. It doesn't include a lot of things. I mean, forget it if you don't have money for mailers. I mean, mailers is a key contributor. And for people, these people think that you don't need money. Oh, absolutely. Let me tell you, if you don't need money, you might as well just not even be in the race, because you're going to need money somewhere down the road. And most of these media outlets, the news, the very first thing that they ask you after they say, "Hey, hi, how you doing? How much money have you raised?"
Yep.
That is the very first thing
Yep.
that they ask you, because then they gauge your credibility on the amount of money that you've raised. Forget it that you've block walked 5,000 houses. Forget that, Forget it that you've ditched out $400 or $500 out of your pocket to go print out 10 or 15 signs that you're putting out by yourself. Forget all that stuff. All they want to do is how much money did you raise, because then you're credible if you raise $20,000.
Johnny, let me tell you, that is the whole reason why I started this podcast, because of those situations. A lot of the candidates that don't have a say in the elections because they don't have enough money. They don't raise a lot of money. They don't have these corporate contributions. Um, Wanting to be able to be accessible for every candidate on the ballot. Well, not every, but I try to, but
Right.
be able to be a media outlet for those people because of what you just said. That happens way too much. And I saw that as well. And I'm just like, really? Just because I don't have a campaign
Yep.
headquarters or I don't employ one person,
Right.
like TPR, Texas Public Radio. I'm gonna call them out. Texas Public Radio is one of those people that says, "Oh, you have to have legitimate thing to have an interview." I'm like, really?
Yep.
For what? For what reason? And yeah, it's because, oh well, then you're credible. But it should be, if you're a nonprofit, you should be, everybody is credible. So, that's why I notate that a lot of the nonprofits that are holding these type of political debates or whatever, you need to be inviting all the candidates, because if not, then that could go against your nonprofit license. And so, but it is what it is. Yes, but yeah, that is why I started this podcast, because of that situation.
Good.
It's that. Um, it's not fair. So it should be
You're
fair
right.
to
It's
everybody,
not.
So, and especially people of colors, people in minority like us, we don't have that say sometimes. And that's why a lot of the people that are living on the west side and south side, um, they feel like they don't have a voice. So because of that situation, so um, I think we need to turn that around, hopefully, and start making it to where it is easily accessible. But either way, do you have any other words, last words that you would like to say about your campaign, or anything that you want to let the people know about your campaign?
What I said already about I want to be a representative. I don't want to be a radical. I don't have my own agenda. I just want to help the people there. I Unfortunately, we are Republicans or Democrats, but I would hope people just view me as just a person that wants to help our district, who just happens to be a conservative. Uh, I am willing to sit down and eat with anybody, talk to anybody. You got to know who represents you. You got to know who they are, not this little bubble of a closet that you come out of during election time and put up a front of who you are. Because the real person is back home in the closet hiding. And when they win, they're going to come out and they're going to show you who you are. As far as me, I'm the same person that I've been forever. My Facebook shows it. You're going to agree with some of the things that I put on there. You're going to disagree with some of the things that I put on there. But I am straightforward. What I tell you is the same thing that I tell 25 different people. I don't change my tune depending on who the audience is in front of me. And so if you want someone that really wants to help the district and make a difference, I'm the person that you want there.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, Johnny. I appreciate it. Just thank you for having the conversation, and good luck to your campaign. How can people get a hold of you, and social media and stuff like that?
Well, I am, my website is real simple, votejohnny.org. And so if you go on there, you can call me, you can email me. Um, I take calls. If I don't take a call, it's probably because I'm hanging out with my grandkids or something. It's best if you drop me a text. If you drop me a text and say, hey, I'm so and so, I just want to talk to you. At least I have it there because I'm really bad at missed calls. And let me tell you, and I don't check my voicemail very often. So you're best just leaving me a text message and I will get back to you. It may be a little while, but I will get back to you.
Awesome. Awesome, Johnny. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And just thank you for everybody that joins and just watches us later. And just remember, keep an eye on the situation with your local politics. Uh, keep that to where you're following. It might not be as fun as a lot of stuff, but it's really important to have these things to know about what's going on. And if you can also follow me on Alamo City Agenda on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and just drop a comment, drop a like, share it. If you have any questions too, please feel free to ask. And also, if you are also a candidate that I haven't talked to yet and would like to come on the show, please shoot me a line as well, because I would like to interview as well. But tomorrow we will have another interview, I believe, and then as well. Hopefully, the county clerk races will have those two candidates as well. So, just thank you guys for joining, and thank you, Johnny, as well. Um, and thank you for first sponsor Alamo Paletas. No relation to Alamo City Agenda, but Alamo Paletas is our sponsor, first sponsor. They're providing the music for the stream, which I know we haven't played any, um, but it's just the some of the music that we have on here. But thank you guys for that. If you also like to be a sponsor, please send me a message as well. We can try to work something out. I would like to do one of these days do a in-person studio interviews. So if you know anybody that has studio space, that's free, maybe, hopefully, because I don't get paid for this. We just try to do this as much as we can for informational purposes. So just let me know. But thank you guys. Appreciate it. You guys have an awesome day.